going to tag team. I'm going to open it. I'm going to turn it over in alphabetical order, not by the name of the foundation, but by the name of the person, okay, to the four panelists who are going to have about 5 or so minutes each to make an opening statement. And then Linda will take over when I sneak out to do the Q&A. Let me make 3 points that I think are, sorry, you can't hear. Can you hear? No?
Yes.
Okay. Is that all right? All right. I'll speak up. 3 points that I wanted to make about this panel. The first is that there was a very famous philanthropist at the Ford Foundation many, many years ago who coined this phrase: philanthropy is society's passing gear. Philanthropy is society's passing gear. Now, you can imagine it was a male who liked to drive cars. But the truth is, the best philanthropy takes the moment and puts it into high relief and accelerates the social change that the grantee as well as the philanthropy is looking for, okay? So when you have, and this is going to be my second point, when you have the Clinton Global Initiative, Atlantic Philanthropies, the Novo Foundation, and the New York Women's Foundation, you not only have philanthropies that are interested in helping society to pass not just business as usual, but to go to another level. You have those 4 philanthropies, and their claim to fame, and I think I'm right, I hope I'm right, is that when the Reagan Revolution hit in 1980, their foundations were not in business. Is that true?
Yes.
Every last one of them. It was anonymous, but there was no such thing that we could identify as Atlantic Philanthropies. I think I'm right about this, right? And you were all in the first wave of the third point I want to make about philanthropy and women's philanthropy, and that is the transfer of wealth in the last 30 years has been nothing short of extraordinary. Even more extraordinary than the era of the robber barons and the great early philanthropists like Andrew Carnegie and Henry Ford and John D. Rockefeller. So this is a very important moment in time in which 4 philanthropies that didn't even exist when I joined the Ford Foundation in the early 80s, or hardly existed, are here to talk about what they do. And it's important for all of you to recognize that if you're looking for money, you have to find the new sources, and there are so many out there, and the new ways they conceptualize society's passing gear. And I would want to say to you, listen up. I learn every day about these newer and I would say very socially conscious philanthropies. They're not just interested in the status quo. So with that, I'm going to ask each of you to make an opening comment, and we're going to start with Penny. Abayordina, how am I doing? Okay. And then we're going to go to Vivian. Penny is with the Clinton Global Initiative, and then Vivian Labaton with Atlantic Philanthropies, Anna Oliveira with the New York Women's Foundation, and last but not least, Pamela Schiffman with the Novo Foundation. Okay, that's the game plan. I'll stay as long as I can, and then Linda's going to take over. So let's start, please, Penny.
So I had thought that CGI was the baby amongst this group, but actually Novo is. But the Clinton Global Initiative is an initiative of the Clinton Foundation. And the Clinton Foundation is a operating foundation, not a grant-making foundation, that runs a couple of initiatives, one of which is the Clinton Global Initiative. CGI is a global convening. It meets every year in September to coincide with the UN General Assembly, because President Clinton very much wants to push an agenda of public and private partnerships. And the Clinton Global Initiative ends up is entering its 6th year, and something that we're recognizing as we're evolving as an organization is that we need to have year-round opportunities of engagement for our membership. It's a membership organization that consists of the corporate, government, philanthropic, and NGO sectors. And we organize ourselves around 4 global challenges of education, economic empowerment, environment and energy, and global health. And so what is core to CGI that differentiates us from other global convenings is that we require all of our members to make a commitment to action. This commitment to action is a project that the member owns, but with working with CGI staff as myself, I manage the girls and women's portfolio as well as the education portfolio. We work with our members to develop their commitments and help push certain agendas. So in preparing for this panel, one of the questions they had asked is how does CGI push for broader partnerships that can further this particular social agenda? And something that President Clinton very much cares very deeply about and has a commitment to is empowering girls and women. And he knows that to do so, you have to address issues of violence. Last year was the first year. In previous years, all sessions had a representation of a speaker that would address issues related to girls or women, but we realized last year that we needed to start having a little bit more direct focus. And so last year we had a special session, we had 2 action networks. Action networks, by the way, are completely new sort of entities / convenings that we're doing, where we bring together CGI members around specific topic areas. This year we have, so just to step back, last year we had the special session, we had 2 action networks around women and girls, and it was, we had set up these small action networks for about 50 people, literally was stopping 100, 150, I think Pamela had to push me aside and break in there. So we recognized that there was a lot of need and interest amongst our membership to really develop this focus on girls and women. If you think of CGI, you can think of us as 3 things. We're a marketplace of ideas. We have 1,700 commitments in our portfolio. We're a convener. So we bring together, we have this amazing platform both in September and year-round to bring together people from different sectors around specific areas. And then finally, I'm actually blanking on that 3rd one. Broker of partnerships, and you'd think I'd remember that because that's what I do. So, ironic, I forgot that part. So broker of partnerships, meaning that myself and my other colleagues in the commitments team, we work with our members to learn about their work and figure out how we can help enhance and develop that work. And so it's making that connection between knowing X corporations interested in this area, either investing in it or learning about it, and then having access to the experts and the folks working on the ground and making that connection. Okay, I'm wrapping up. So this year, we've decided to really ramp up our focus on girls and women. The annual meeting is over 3 days. It's organized around 4 action areas, one of which is empowering girls and women, which is really exciting. It's the first time that we're going to have a quarter of our programming focused on girls and women. We'll be addressing issues of violence in those sessions. And then throughout the year-round opportunities and engagement, we have 4 action networks, one of which is addressing violence against girls and women. And so what we're trying to do with that is create a safe space for our corporate and other CGI members to have a safe space to explore this issue. Corporations in particular are not stepping up at CGI with making commitments around this area, and so we're trying to figure out how best we can educate them, but also create safe spaces for them to explore by talking to the right people, how they can start getting involved with this space.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I thought I'd talk very briefly about what Atlantic does and then spend most of my time talking about some of the observations and challenges that I see around thinking about gender issues in the context of our grant making. Atlantic is a global foundation. We work in 6 countries. We have 4 program areas: aging, youth, reconciliation, human rights, and population health. We're spending down. We aim to cease all of our grant making by 2016 and close entirely by 2020. We recently adopted a social justice frame for all of our work, which among other things has meant that is for our work globally. That means different things in different geographies. In the US, it has meant elevating the focus on racial justice, on gender issues, on supporting communities that are most impacted by the issues that we seek to address by supporting voices of marginalized communities. And that is the frame that we're applying to all of our work in the US. And in addition to the programs that I mentioned, we also in the US are starting to support and look at strategies that cut across all the programs, that augment the work of all the programs, but that are not specific to any one of them. And those include strategies, include support for organizing and constituency building, support for leadership development, support for research and policy, and other areas of work that are kind of central to the social justice landscape in the US. So within that work, I wanted to share some observations that I think are really relevant to how we think about building awareness, support, and momentum around a kind of gender movement, a movement focused on gender, focused on women's issues. So with that said, one of the things I've noticed is that among progressive, self-identified progressive multi-issue organizations, I have noticed a kind of glaring absence of any of gender as an analytical framework for much of that work. And I think that reveals a lot, actually, about the extent to which women's rights issues are sort of on are part of a broader progressive agenda, and the extent to which they are sort of a key element of public discourse or not. I have found that when I speak with groups that work on a range of issues that identify as progressive, that work on, could be anything, economic justice, health care, a range of social policy issues, when I ask about how they think about gender in their work, I'm often met with something like a blank stare. And it is alarming to me because I think it reflects the fact that women's issues are seen kind of over here, and a progressive agenda is seen here. And to me, that feels like there has been some backsliding in the extent to which gender issues are seen as integral, as central, as kind of part and parcel of a broader progressive agenda. So I think we need to think about that. I also think another challenge that I've seen is that to the extent there is innovative and exciting work happening around gender issues broadly defined, it is often at a relatively small scale. So you can find pockets of interesting work, but it's in discrete places or works with discrete populations. And I think in part because of that, it is hard to generate a larger sense of momentum around these issues. The third observation that I would like to share is around leadership development and around the extent to which women's groups have been able to retain and attract new generations of young feminist activists. I think that's important for the future of the women's movement. I think that's important. I think that relates to the women's movement, the ability of the women's movement to remain innovative and engaging, to capture the public imagination, to be viewed as or regarded as relevant to a broader progressive agenda. I think you can't separate out leadership development from those larger questions.